Hi, YouTube. How are you doing? I'm doing pretty good, not bad. Um, there might be some noise. Doug does know I'm making a video, but so I'm sure he's not going to do anything too loud that will disrupt us too bad. I don't think. He's outside working on a gas line for our heat, and it's kind of cold out, and so he might be coming back in or in his shop to warm up his hands and feet and whatever. So, yeah, just in case. My topic today is love bombing. How many of you have gone through that thousands of times? Or even once is enough, isn't it? Um, how people will present their best nature when they first meet somebody, and usually, yeah, there's some of us that don't operate like that. I'll tell you about that too. But of course, they're gonna, you meet somebody like a friend or a potential romantic partner or whatever it is, even in business situations, and you meet these people and you think, wow, cool person. And wow, they like to collect agates like I do, or ride horses, or whatever. They love cars or music, or, things that you find in common, and you think, wow, and you can relate to that person on that personal level, on something that you are like-minded in areas that, you recognize. That's always cool. So cool. And then you find out that they lied. They don't like rocks. They could care less about music, something like that. I mean, the only fear I have in life, and I would rather be hurt physically than emotionally. I think most of us would, but I don't know. I've had a lot of injuries, a lot of injuries, and I can tell you from experience, I would rather have my body hurt than my heart, you know? So I'm really leery going into friendships with people. Um, it's not that I'm always waiting for the other shoe to drop, because sometimes I can see that their shoes are a little loose to begin with. But so I'm not really shocked or anything. But then you have these ones that are pretty good actors. Like, here's something that's absolutely true. I don't know if you've noticed it in people that carry a certain spirit within themselves, but like their peripheral vision, their eyes, there's just something different about their eyes. When I met Doug, we recognized each other from in the ether. But he recognized me slightly because I saved my own spouse's life. Isn't that a trip? And I didn't even want to. I had been, um, sometimes I didn't drink, sometimes I did. But this night in particular, I got off work from, well, uh, it was, I worked my shift, then did 2 hours of nursing school, and then went to this little bar to play some pool. I had a Pepsi. There was these guys there. They were drinking a pitcher of beer and playing pool and whatever. And I went to go out the door, and there was these 2 clowns that came out behind me, and the one fell off the flippin' stairs on his back. There was like 3 stairs, and he's sitting there flailing, and his friend was there, so I went to walk away. I went to go across the street to get in my car, and I turned around and I went, yeah, I only had taken a few steps. It's like, fuck this, you know, drunk. But I told his friend, I said, he's choking on his tongue. I said, you put them sideways and don't use your fingers. Take your wallet and put it in his mouth, dislodge his tongue so he doesn't choke on his own tongue. And he did what I told him, and then Doug was okay. And years later, I found out when I met him personally because I had seen him around in the community and in the ether my entire life. He's 8 years older than me. Um, he had been on some kind of medication and wasn't supposed to have anything to drink with it. And he had only had like a couple beers, so he wasn't drunk. Yeah. They called the cops. They tried to, he was in the hospital and they tried to put him in jail for falling off the steps. They thought like disorderly conduct or some long story with that for him and the cops in the hospital after I had left. But isn't that a trip? I saved his life, ended up marrying him. Well, when we met each other, we knew each other. It was instant recognition. Now, what happened to me, and I don't know if it happened before I caught him, but I'm talking chemistry, I'm talking saliva. One time I walked into my kitchen. Now, keep in mind, he was hanging around with my ex and his wife and daughter. She was not faithful, and they ended up after she slept with her brother-in-law and stayed with him for a couple weeks. He took her back for about 6 years and couldn't deal with it after a while, you know. So she ended up taking the girl and leaving. He was pretty much falling apart when I met him. He was really out of his mind. I mean, super out of his mind. And when I first met him, he pulled up on this big Harley, and I had been around bikers, and not all of them are honorable. And I looked at him, and I was glaring at him like I wanted him dead. He could not figure it out, which kind of falls in line with the rest the history in the world, this chemistry thing. One day I walked in my kitchen, and my kids are little, and there's milk in the fridge. I go in the kitchen, and there he is chugging out of the gallon of milk, telling me he's like gaunt or whatever. I had that happen a couple different times in my life, letting people in my life and around me and my children. At that point, with that only being the only milk in my house, my children and I and my ex were exposed to a different type of chemical in our systems at that point. With, like I say, how many times did that happen in the past and I didn't know, you know, makes me wonder. But yeah, that's a real thing. When you mix your DNA with somebody else's, it makes a chemical reaction. And if they are a magi, they're literally casting dispersions upon you. No, they're casting their essence into your life. Well, I recognize that. I recognize that going into it, and nobody fucks with me or my children and gets away with it. Doug found that out. That's the way I operate. Well, our relationship is a little bit different than everybody else's because his heart lies with a marriage he never could have had. My heart lies with the first love of my life not actually being a physical human being on this planet, unless somebody's carrying that spirit and Doug's one of them, part of that. That's why we recognized each other. So, going into other friendships and stuff with people, um, is a very painful thing a lot of times. And what I'm doing isn't really understood. I mean, you know, that song, I'm just a soul whose intentions are good. Oh Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood. That is my song, for real. For all the reasons I just mentioned. But chemistry, that's a real thing, people. I cannot tell you how real it is and how much Doug and I actually know about that. And there might be one other person I've ran across now that has the deepest understanding of that. He wrote a book called The Chemical Muse, A.C. Hillman. Yeah. I haven't read the book. I don't need to read the book. I know what it's about. I'm going to someday, but it's not in my near future um, aspirations, you know. Uh, Having a nice life and some semblance of peace in my life and doing what I want to do is number one on my list right now. 'Cause your kiss is on my list for the best things in life. um, Hall and Oates did that song. Your kiss is on my list. So, so I'm not. I mean, when you anticipate something going wrong, you're actually fueling that anticipation. So with friends, I try to keep an open heart and an open mind, but I just have to say things like they are. I have been punished by men and women in my life. First, I didn't know if it was my strength or intelligence or beauty or what, or all the above, or my spirituality or whatever fucking reasons they want to gather in their little pea brains to use as ammunition against me. It hurts. Yeah, it does. Yeah, well, ew. I'm sick of you little things in that way. Because there's like, okay, say, like if you got totally betrayed in your life and you were unstable to begin with, you may feel like taking your life. And I have felt like that before. I've been very depressed, but um, from trauma, but I'm not going to let that put me in that type of position. I've crawled out of what they call a dark night of the soul, and I'm not going back in for anybody. Can just kiss off, you know. You have to be a really exceptional human being to even be in that league, as far as I'm concerned, worthy, you know. I don't do mediocre, you know. It's unacceptable. I was talking to uh, my second born granddaughter yesterday, and she was telling me about this boy, or they're teens, older teens now, that he kissed her first. They were just like friends, and then they were going to go on this date and do something. She got really sick in the meantime and wasn't even able to use her phone to call him to say she wasn't going to be there. The next day, he's like, when they got to school, you know, speaking about his disappointment and the whole thing. Next thing you know, he's talking to her best friend, and her best friend is responding. Talk about a double whammy. I had my very best friend do something similar. Her cute little boyfriend, and I mean little, played basketball. So we went up to this school that they had both gone to this elementary school together and met and ended up getting married. And he was a cop and they had kids for a while together. And well, anyway, this little okay, we were talking. She started getting jealous, but I didn't realize it was like that because, in my eyes, my beautiful friend was everything to this boy. But in her eyes, that boy was talking to me in a way maybe he shouldn't have been, which I didn't see because it wasn't like that. Not for me. Not I didn't see it if it was there like that. But she and hated me ever since that day because I was at that time a start the forward on a basketball team. So we were talking basketball, you know. But anyway, so out of jealousy, basically, her jealousy, I lost my best friend because she couldn't deal with it. I tried to explain to her that I was totally head over heels over this guy for a long time, and we called him Corky, but his name was Curtis. Um, I almost married him till I found out he wasn't all that he said he was. I almost died because of that too, because I was so upset. I flushed the wedding ring set down the toilet as we were on the phone together, and he actually came to where I was babysitting and was going to shoot me in front of the children. Long story. Anyway, terrible, huh? But yeah, so I'm really leery about getting close to people. Those are just some stories. There's some that are way worse than that, but yeah. So anyway, why did I flush those rings? First off, they were way too big, even though my hands look pretty big. I mean, I wear a size 8. It's not really big, big or small, small. It's just right for me. And the ones that he got me were just huge. And I thought, what? You've touched me and you can't even tell what size my finger is, you know? Well, that wasn't why, because he actually had been with another girl and I found out about it. So, hmm. It's the end of that. I don't play, you know? And then he gets violent with me. Like, yeah, right. Anyway, I've had that happen in my life a lot. These men want to do what they want to do, but then when I want to just get away from them, I don't go and do the same thing. It's like, I'm done with you. Um, yeah, they don't like that. They don't like when you act like them or just cut it off. One time I was playing pool and my ex was up at the bar with the rest of the hose bags, and me and this guy are playing pool, and he's telling me about how his wife had cheated on him and stuff, and he's seeing what's happening to me right in front of my face. We didn't do anything, but he's like, "You want to go for a ride?" I said, "Yeah, I do." So we both took off and we're driving around and we smoked a doobie and we're just talking and I got accused of all kinds of things, but I don't fucking care. I'm like, yeah, right, whatever. Don't care. And when I was finally done with my kid's dad going out on me, I had him watch the kids. I said, I'm going to the bar. I'm going to have a couple drinks. I'm not asking anybody like you do. I'm going out dancing, and you are going to watch the kids. And that's exactly what I did. I sort of had fun. I missed my kids. It wasn't the biggest deal. I just wanted to make a point, you know. I lost one friend, and this was a teenage friend. She had called me. She wanted to go to the bar with me in front of her husband and make him jealous. And I'm like, I don't play that game, you know. Um, it's not a game to me. But because I wouldn't go along with that type of stuff, really, this was the only reason. And she stopped talking to me. Yeah. I knew her husband too, um, only because his parents bought a utility trailer from my parents a long time ago, and so I just actually had met him even before they got married and had a little boy named Jacob, and I saved Jacob's life. He was choking. She was a young mom and didn't really know what to do. So I've saved quite a few people in my life. Yeah, anyway. I was just thinking this morning there was one time when my adopted dad was gonna bonk my mom on top of her head with a cast iron pan. And today was one of those days I wondered what would happen if I hadn't defended people that I defended. Like my brother was getting hurt in the living room, and I used to go out and do something funny, and they're like, get back in your room. Or so I'm like hanging out in my doorway, and I'm like, good night, Ma. Good night, Pa. Good night, donkey with the hee ha ha. And all hell broke loose. They didn't like that very much, but trying to save my brother, I figured if I was the bad one, they wouldn't hurt him. That's my personality. But you know what? That gets old. So I was wondering this morning what would have just happened if I had let him just bonk her on her fucking head. You know. Anyway, I told you my childhood was a bit different than some people's, or unfortunately not. For some people, lived through some really strange times, sleep deprivation, all kinds of shit. Yeah. Intentional shit. I'll get lethal now if somebody tries to jack my environment. There's no going back with, there will be retaliation in one form or another, period. I don't care who says what. People will never with me again and get away with it. It's been too long, and I don't care. I do not care who says what. If you're so conditioned by what you think is right and wrong and you're turning the other cheek, if you think you have more than two sets of cheeks, you keep turning them. I'm not gonna. I'm sick of it. And there's a lot of abusive people out there. A lot of them over the internet here. They got big mouths over this in the internet. That's easy for their little asses to do. Till you meet somebody real right up in front of you, you know? Like playing with people. Till you meet somebody that doesn't play, you know? And I don't. Not with anybody. Unless it's a competitive sport or something like that, you know? But the minute things get serious, I'm out for blood, and if somebody hurts my feelings again, you will pay for that. It's not free. So I'm not going to sit here and envision the thousand ways I could do something, but I'm sure naturally that will come about, you know. Some people try to silence their mind. Why? Could you tell me what's the benefit of not thinking? Silence, yes. Yeah, I can still my body enough to silence a heartbeat, let alone my breath. I can do that. It's actually a natural thing. You don't have to practice if you're living a decent life, you don't have to practice anything. Life is natural. These gurus out here telling you what to do and how to do it, you know. Abracadabra, motherfuckers, aren't you fancy? You know so much. Like I said it in another video. Everybody wants to tell me the path to go. And you're, most people, weak and stupid. So why would I follow that? Anybody else fed up? I am. Yeah. I think my granddaughter's fed up. She's a cadet right now. That kind of screams fed up. And another one was talking about being a police officer. It's like, yeah, little enforcers, go get them. This world needs more strong women. Not masculine, just strong. I mean, if I'm stronger than most men, okay, so then you're going to call me masculine? No, then you better be a big man before you fuck with me if you think you can, or you want to, or you're actually strong enough to make me feel my femininity, you know, and that would be up to the person, you know, as a friend or my future, you know, because we do have futures, people, you know. You really do have to learn your connection to God, not becoming God or thinking you are a God, unless you actually are, but an offspring made in that image, but something different. That's the new creation. That's Yah the Baoth. This is God's plan to be with his people. That's not for everybody, you know? There's different types of souls on this planet for different reasons, you know? It's just the ones that aren't in a certain category. Getting angry about it isn't going to stop your evolution or your de-evolution. Reminds me of that song, Somebody That I Used to Know by Godier. If you look at that video, it's really cool because um it shows how like her essence of like her coloring is going away. Um and then she's like, uh, or she's all covered with leaves, and then the leaves go away or something. I mean, it's almost like she de-evolves out of that relationship, you know, and evolves into something else, you know. So I have it in my check this out playlist and my songs and maybe somewhere else. But yeah, it's there. So I just wanted to talk about that love bombing because that is the most painful thing in the world. And some of you might have even been raised like that with that push pull feeling. One minute you think it's okay, and the next it isn't. Somebody that would actually tell a kid, "Do you know what a Hertz donut is?" Punch you in your arm. This is a mother and tells you, "Hertz donut." Come here, Barbara. You know? Do you think I'm sick of it? Yeah, I'm sick of it. I'm leery on who to trust. Why wouldn't I be? You know? Because I can make things happen, and people know that, and they want to use me for that. So, how do you know if somebody's actually sincere in the world, even as a friend, you know, and getting um, jacked around too much? Well, for every action, there's a reaction. So, how do you want me to react? What are you expecting? I'm not going to become bitter. Like, Doug was asked by a kid, something about marriage, and he sort of like laughs. He's like, "Get some dogs," and the kid's like, "I already got three of them." And I'm like, nah, just 'cause things didn't work out for me, marriage is sacred. Making love is sacred. I'm not telling the younger generation not to try and have companionship and relationships and closeness, and no, not even close. Just because what? Because two people can't make it work, you're going to tell younger people not to even try? That's stupid. There wouldn't even be any life on this planet if everybody thought like that. Just fucking dense. Yeah, it's scary to get hurt. Get used to it, right? You expect me to. So we just have to be selective in our friends, and that's a really big deal. Who we let around us and why. If you're aware of all those things, and some of you are, you know. So, well, I'm going to get this uploaded. I just wanted to tell you the only real fear I have. It's my heart. If people enjoy hurting that, have at it. It's not free. So, peace and love from Pine City, Minnesota, USA. Have a good night or day wherever you're at. Oh, if you're new here, I play a lot of music. If it bothers you that some that maybe you've never even heard because I'm that old, and if it bothers you, either just like scroll through it or unsub. Either way, I'm only looking for quality and intelligence and kindness. I mean, if you snap and you're kind of um snappy type of personality, I can deal with it. That's for real emotions that aren't being hidden. And if, like, when Doug and I met each other, it's like I'm gonna show this the bitch I can be, 'cause nobody's gonna do nothing to me and get away with it type of thing. A whole different type of something that people have never even thought of. Maybe one other person has thought of that. Other than that, I don't think you'd really understand. So, um, well, I'll talk to you tomorrow pretty soon. Pretty sure. Peace.